Caitlin, our theme on the Don't Change Much podcast with the Canadian Men's Health Foundation is Don't Change Much. So what does that mean to you?
To me, it really means you do not have to dramatically alter your diet to make, a positive impact on your health. How many of us have tried something really extreme with our diet just to find ourselves reverting back to old habits?
Hey, this is Buzz Bishop, and you're listening to the Don't Change Much podcast, brought to you by the Canadian Men's Health Foundation. We have a special episode in store today, and in store is in the grocery store. We are focused on food, how it impacts our health. I'm joined by renowned Canadian chef Ned Bell and registered dietitian from TELUS Health MyCare, Caitlin Boudreau. We're going to talk about why what we eat matters, where to start, how to explore simple changes to our diet, what to buy at the grocery store, and how all of these things can produce big benefits for our health when you don't change much.
I think we have to give up this idea that we have to be super extreme or do a complete overhaul of our diet in order to have a healthy diet. I love seeing what happens when my clients focus on one or two small changes, which can then help them to layer in even more changes. So I think ultimately, to me, it really means just, keep it simple. Pick one or two things that you can start doing right away, commit to them, and see what happens. I can almost guarantee that you will start eating a little bit better, probably feel a little bit better, and then start building some momentum to perhaps have some more changes happen.
What is the science? What is the power behind these superfoods?
Well, I wish there were superfoods. I feel like they sound very cool, but they're not actually a thing. I mean, there really is no actual superfood. I try to steer my clients away from that idea that there's one specific food they should be eating. It's always flavor of the month, it's acai, or it's something else. Of course, there are foods that are very nutrient dense, and so it's worth looking at those. So things like nuts, lentils, lots of fruits and vegetables. So those antioxidant-rich foods, and antioxidants really are actually a thing and do help prevent chronic disease. Those are absolutely worth trying to get more of in our diet. So it could be something like beets or berries or some of the grains that Ned has talked about, barley, but they can be really simple. I think that's another key point that he raised. It doesn't have to be something that you're going to some boutique-y grocery store for. You can buy barley, you can buy lentils pretty much anywhere.
I'm a chef. Like, the truth is, I don't eat that way at home with my family, with my sons and my wife. I certainly don't. You're coming to my restaurant for that experience. When you're in the grocery store, North Americans are creatures of habit. Humans are creatures of habit. And we often go to the store and buy the same things and have for decades. And so I challenge people. I wrote a cookbook a number of years ago, and I challenge people, when you go to the grocery store, leave a few lines blank at the bottom of your list and challenge yourself to fill those blank lines with things you don't normally buy. So maybe you're just diversifying the things that you're feeding your family with. It could be celery root. It could be different squashes. It could be a different kind of protein that maybe isn't as expensive. It could be any number of things. I mean, my boys want chicken and broccoli, steak and broccoli, steak and broccoli. We cook a lot of those things at home because we're like most normal families. It's just that I'm a fancy chef in my restaurant, but at home I cook pretty basic stuff.
Work together to launch the Canadian Men's Health Foundation Guy's Guide to Eating Healthy. Why is that important to you, Caitlin, to get something like this going?
Yeah, I think, Buzz, eating healthy, that really provides the right nutrients or the building blocks to do all the things we want to do. I think most men want to continue working and being active, or maybe it's like Ned and myself, like running after your kids. So it's really important that we have the right fuel in order to do all of those things. So I think quality of life is really a key reason why this guide is so important. So the idea of not just wanting to live longer, but enjoying that life and trying to avoid the burden that might come from something like chronic disease, diabetes, heart disease, that type of thing.
Is accountability a thing guys are good at, Caitlin?
Some, maybe. Yeah, I find there's a real all or nothing mentality with a lot of the men that I chat with. So if they're not full blown keto or fasting or I don't know, doing some extreme diet, they feel like, what's the point? I think that's the real challenge when I work with some of the male clients that I work with is just trying to help them see that there is a gray area and just a few small changes can actually have a big impact. It doesn't have to be completely one extreme or the other.
My wife played a pretty big role in the change that I went through about 12 years ago. We've been married for 15 years and we got married a little later than normal in life. And I used to only think that I had done a workout if it was a 2-hour something, a 2-hour ride, an hour and 45-minute run where I was just dying. Unless I could do the 2-hour something, I didn't even bother because it was like not worth it.
Yeah.
And she said, half an hour is better than nothing. And it was really that it took me years to get that. But now I think to myself, half an hour is better than nothing, whether it's lifting something heavy, whether it's going for a walk, whether it is going for a short run or a ride. It doesn't need to be this big accomplishment. And I'm an accomplishment guy. But when it comes to how I fuel myself and how I release this sort of stresses or endorphins that I might be going after, I think we as guys are just like, if it's not the highest mountain, I haven't done anything. And that's just baloney. Like, it doesn't need to be that. It can be short bursts of something that just gives your brain a break and maybe makes you earn that treat. Firstly, start small. I think if you think of 7 days in a week and you don't cook at home very often, or it's usually convenience foods or what have you, start with 2 out of 7 and really commit to 2 out of 7 as a routine that you're feeding your family. That we all eat. And why wouldn't you want to eat just a little bit healthier, whether you're inspiring your kids or your partner or yourself or your friends? Start with baby steps. It doesn't have to be every day of the week. It doesn't have to be every month, every day of the month. It's a couple of days a week. And then you'll start to realize, oh, I feel a little better. This routine is easier. Maybe I'm eating a bit healthier, and then go up to 3 days and then go up to 4 days and stop at 4 days. Allow yourself 2 days on the flip side once you get into that scenario where you could cheat and go out for a delicious meal at my restaurant or somebody else's restaurant, or you can enjoy that extra scoop of ice cream or that thing that you might crave that you would have just eaten blindly before.